How's it going, everybody? I'm Matt for Artemis Fowl Confidential, and today I'm with the man himself, Eoin Colfer.
Wow, Matt, this is a fantastic studio we are in. Where we're given the posh treatment.
We have.
Yeah. So I think it's you, because I'm usually just stuck in a cupboard. So I think they're giving you the posh treatment.
I was, when we talked about potentially doing an interview, I was kind of thinking it'd be me with a selfie cam and you here for a couple of minutes.
Yeah,
so this escalated quickly.
Yes, obviously we're going places.
We are.
We are going places. We've arrived.
We have.
Right,
we have.
yeah.
Right back in 2004 when I first met you, a wee nipper.
You were a tiny little fella, little twinkle in your eye, coming into the show.
That was it.
And you saw the show again. I hope I did different stories today.
It was different, yes. Never heard the bowl story before.
Good stuff.
We'll try and get a copy of that to give to our viewers. So for those who don't know, and I assume we probably don't have many people who watch our channel that don't know who you are.
Well, I would hope not. That would be, yeah. But there are people.
Yeah.
I think it's because my name is difficult to pronounce.
You
and just put people off it. Eoin. I like Eoin because it's like spacey.
Yeah.
But
I think my dad many years ago thought it was Ewan.
Ewan.
I think, yeah. Is that
it's kind of cool as well. Is that Welsh or Scottish? I'm not sure, but I'll take anything. I'm fine.
Yeah, happy.
I remember a publisher once saying to me, "Would you use a different name?" And I said, "I will if I can be Lance, Lance Colfer." But I was not allowed to have that name.
No,
sadly.
Max Power Colfer.
Max Power Colfer. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. But I'm stuck with that one now.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
It's worked out okay.
It seems to be okay now. After 20 years, people are getting there.
So, FOWL TWINS is due out 5th of November.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since we've seen Artemis Fowl in any form, really.
It's very exciting. I mean, I've been working on this, I suppose, for a couple of years. But so the date is just finally approaching, so I really wanted to come out now, and I'm really happy with it. And the reviews coming in, the advanced reviews are very positive. So, and I think HarperCollins have done a wonderful job on the presentation.
It is a very nice cover.
It's a beautiful book, you know. So yeah, I'm really delighted with it. I think if it was just me, you can't really toot your own trumpet too much. But when there's a team involved, you can allow yourself to be very proud and happy, which I am.
So the most pressing question I have for you, Mr. Colfer, is why does the villain in the new FOWL TWINS book?
Yeah.
Why is he an eccentric British guy who's obsessed with beard care?
Well, you know, Matt, there's a lot of guys with beards. But I know it actually didn't strike me till you said. I thought, oh my God, it is like Matt. He's gonna. But I presume you're not a supervillain sniper. So far as I know,
urgent exit required.
yeah. I do like the big bearded look. I think it's very cool, and I just thought it would be great to have a hipster assassin. So it's Lord Teddy BLEEDHAM-DRYE, which is one of my favourite names.
He's very good.
And he's the Duke of the Islands of Scilly, the Scilly Isles, which kids will think it's inherently funny because of, you know, the word silly. So yeah, Teddy wants to stay alive forever. So he travels the earth taking all these potions and cures. And he finds out that legend has it that the venom of a troll under laboratory conditions can extend your life indefinitely. And the only place you can find a troll is on Dalkey Island, where the FOWL TWINS now live. And so that sends the whole thing rolling. So I really wanted to get this book off to a really fast start. So after a few pages of character description, it just goes straight into the adventure.
And it doesn't really stop.
And it doesn't stop till the end. And it's quite a challenge to maintain that level of adventure, but not for it to become boring, because anything can become boring. Even if you go to a stand-up comedy gig, you can get bored of laughing after about half an hour.
I know, my face starts to hurt after a while.
Yeah, so you just say, okay, I've laughed now, that's it, can I just go home? And so I didn't want that to happen with this, where you'd say, okay, we've been in a chase for the last 20 pages, that's enough now. So you've kind of got to modulate it up and down and put in jokes, develop the characters, introduce new characters, put in some background, but still have it to zip by nice and quickly.
So I've got a question from a visitor called Vix. And she would like to know when you first conceived of the idea of giving Artemis siblings, and did you have in the back of your mind that they might one day succeed him?
Not initially. I think they were like a punchline initially in The Lost Colony. Artemis kind of went missing in limbo for a few years, and the joke would be when he comes back, the last. He's like, I've got brothers. But then in the Last Guardian, they got more involved in it. They were possessed by the spirits of dead fairy warriors.
Yeah.
And I thought it would be hilarious to have these tiny little guys with axes, you know,
charging
around, making these battle cries in very high-pitched voices. I thought that would be kind of funny. So, but they really struck a chord with everybody. Everyone really liked them, and I get a lot of people saying, "Are you going to bring the twins back?" So, and a lot of people actually said, "Well," I said, "I'm not going to do another Artemis book, but I might use some characters," and people say, "You should use the twins," you know.
Yeah.
So the seed was sown when I was on tour with The Last Guardian, and I thought, I have to get out of the world for a while because I've been in it for 20 years.
Yeah.
I need to take a break and then come back firing on all cylinders in about 5 years, and that's nearly to the day what I did. Yeah. So when I started writing it, it was, I think, 5 years after The Last Guardian, and there was it's like a smell of a movie on the horizon, so the interest was there from people, which is very fortunate. It's nice to be able to launch a new series with some kind of buzz behind it.
Yeah.
So,
and it seems to be there seems to be a lot of buzz. We've got obviously the FOWL Twins coming out. They've recently re-released all of the books in you know, across the world. We've got the movie on the horizon. Yeah. You've got another book, Highfire, out in January. So you're keeping very busy. How have you?
It seems like I must be hugely busy, but actually these things are staggered, but they just all seem to come out together. So I suppose I wrote FOWL Twins, and after that I wrote Highfire. But to get into a publishing schedule often takes 18 months. So yeah, it's going to be a busy year now, but not of writing. It's going to be touring this book, touring the next book, and then I have a play coming out in May that's going into a very big theatre in Ireland. And then the movie is out shortly after that. Wow. And then after that, I'll have to just take a break.
Kick back, go on a nice vacation. But then I have
to do the next FOWL Twins book, so that will have to be in by maybe February. So it's kind of... But these are great to write. You know, you sit down and you just giggle away like a school child to yourself in your office. They're just a pleasure to write. So, and I'm trying to just write stuff that I enjoy writing now. Yeah. Not that I ever really went off the deep end emotionally with subject matter, except maybe for illegal. But the more fun I can have now, the better, and the more people I can make laugh, the better. I think it's a time. I don't want to get political, but it's a time in the world when people could use a laugh.
Absolutely.
A lot of people. So
there's a lot going on.
That's my job. I know what, it's great when you know why you're in the building. You know, I'm in the building to make people laugh. That's what I'll do. And I don't really worry about, I know there's great writers who would take you on emotional journeys. What I really like about modern writers is for young people is that it's very inclusive. In that, whatever type of child you are, there is a book out there with you as the hero. Yeah. You will be able to find a book. Whereas when I was growing up in the 1970s, all the books were about me. So it was great to be me. You know, if you were like a middle class Caucasian boy, everything's about you.
Yeah, you're the hero.
You are the hero. And I talked to people recently in the States, and they were saying when we were young, there was no book about us. We could not find a book that was about the hero was an African-American girl. We just couldn't. There wasn't that book. Maybe one book.
Wow.
So I really like how that's opening up to everybody. It would be too late for me to jump on that because it would be like appropriation a little bit. But so I'm just going to stick to making people laugh.
Chuckling away.
If I can. Yeah.
How did your process differ with, when you compare all the way back to when you first wrote Artemis Fowl? Yeah. How did the process differ to coming back and writing the FOWL Twins?
My process has changed. Back in 2000, when I was writing Artemis, I was very much linear, beginning to end, much more planning. Now I have a little bit more confidence in myself in that I know no matter what order I write the scenes in, I will be able to tie them together. So if I'm excited by a scene, I tend to write that scene straight away. So I don't file it away for writing in 6 months. When I get to that part of the book, I just write the scene, and then when I come to it, I put it together like a jigsaw. I fix what needs to be fixed. So it's a much more immediate process, and I think the book really benefits from that because I was excited about all the scenes as I was writing them. Sometimes I find myself, I have an idea, I put it in a file, it's in my mind for 6 months. And by the time I get to it, I've already written it and rewritten it in my head. So it's better to just go pretty soon. So I'll often be in the middle of a scene and then I will have another idea and I will ping off and write that scene and then come back to the scene I was working on. So yeah, and I did less planning. I had a very loose skeleton of where the story was going, and then I just went for it. Usually I would spend a couple of months letting that sink in, taking note after note after note. But with this one, I think it was a week. I put together a very loose structure, and then I just went for it.
Dived in
and just have fun, and I think that comes across when you're reading it, that I had fun writing it. It's and hopefully you'll have fun reading it. And it's much more preposterous.
Yeah.
The story.
It's a bit more out there.
Yeah, it's totally out there. And I used to have a little bit of restraint and say, no, let's keep it. But the older I get, I think I can sell stuff more. I can make it preposterous stuff seem believable if you don't think about it. If you think about it, you go, wait a minute, what? But if you're just enjoying the book, then you go for it. So I'm yet to see how that will work out. So far, response has been positive. But I'm sure someone will not like it, but hopefully not too many people.
So let's move on to the Artemis Fowl movie briefly. So obviously it was due for release August of this year. Unfortunately, it was pushed back. Any thoughts on that? I mean, it sounds like it's wrapped up and ready to roll now. So
I think it's pretty near totally finished now. There was a couple of reasons why it was held back. I think the main reason was that Disney bought Fox. And then it became a studio thing where Fox already had a movie on that weekend that was finished, that was ready. So we were not ready. So they actually, when the option came up to put it back to a better weekend in 2020, they took that very quickly. And they said, oh yeah, we'll have that weekend. Because it was the Pirates of the Caribbean weekend. That's what.
Wow.
So there's no Pirates this year or next year, so
we're filling Pirates this year.
Well, hopefully it's. I don't know much about it. What I've seen looks great. It looks like a real movie. The production values are sky high. The actors are very talented. The script is great. So I'm really hopeful. So, but I haven't seen the final cut yet. So hopefully I'll get to see that before Christmas. And then in May, it'll be out.
Away we roll.
Yeah, let's hope so. Me and you have both been down this road a few times.
Waiting and waiting and waiting.
So we know what it's like. But I mean, a lot of me just wants to concentrate on the books, and I'll show up at the movie and I'll be delighted to do it. But really, it's their thing. I'm just a very happy guest to be there. So
the way I look at it is as well is, even if the movie introduces a lot of new people back to the books as well, it will hit a whole new generation of fans.
Well, I hope so. I mean,
pick the books up.
I hope people who watch the movie, I mean, it is a huge $60 million advertisement. There's going to be posters all over the world, on the sides of buildings, and at the very least, people will pick up the books. I hope so. That will be nice.
How does it feel to sort of imminently see one of your creations appearing on such a large stage?
It feels good. I mean, it's hard to connect yourself to it. It feels very separate from what I'm doing, and even though I know that that's my book and I wrote that, but you still view it as a separate thing because it's the art of other artists. So Kenneth Branagh or Conor McPherson, they've molded it to suit the silver screen, which is great, which they have to do. So it does feel nice, but again, the books are what's important to me. This is important, but the books are kind of my life and my life's work. So I'm trying very hard to keep that standard in the books, especially with the twins now. That I don't want the twins to be kind of a secondary project. I want them to earn their own place. Now it will take a few books, I would say, but hopefully this will get their feet in the door and people will look forward to their next adventure, not just as a filler until Artemis comes back from space. So yeah,
on its way to Mars with Butler, I believe.
Yes, we took them out. I thought the best way to keep Artemis out of the picture, because otherwise he would just take over, you know. So I said, I'll just shoot him off into space.
Yeah, it's a nice, off you pop.
Yeah, up there, you know, Major Tom up in the sky, and all he can do is make the odd phone call back, which is just a nice way of keeping him out of the picture.
We know that you've got 2 Fowl Twins books planned.
Yeah.
Anything you can tease about the second one, sort of how far along the process you are?
I'm about, I'd say, a third to halfway through, but I'm doing it in that way that I've now developed, in that I'm writing at the scenes that I like. So it's very disjointed at the moment, and then I'll have to kind of iron over all those wrinkles when I get to the end. And in the first book, Miles and Beckett are kind of along for the ride, even though Miles is a genius who would like to be a bit of a criminal mastermind.
Yeah.
So in the second book, Miles is much more active in that he has a plan that he wants to pursue that will bring them from, so far, they go to a secret airport in Florida. That's where it all kind of kicks off, but they end up deep underground and they go all across Europe. So it's a real globe-trotting adventure again, like this one. That's one of the benefits of traveling a lot for work, is that I see these great places.
Some inspiration.
Yeah, Englishmen with beards, you know, the kind of thing. And I can put it all in the book. And I wonder, can I put it down as expenses? Probably not. Yeah.
You can try.
Yeah, I can try. See what Mr. Taxman says.
Absolutely.
Yeah, give it a go.
On the subject of kind of plots and imagination, were there ever any kind of reasonably concrete Artemis Fowl plots that never saw a full book?
There was actually, there were a few, and one of them ended up in the Warp series, because I was going to explore more time travel with Artemis and co. But I realized really about halfway in that this is not an Artemis book. It's a much darker story. So I just kept that aside for when I had more time, and it obviously changed considerably. But and the other way around, I had started books that were not meant to be Artemis books. The Lost Colony, for example, that was going to be a book all about number 1. So it was a different world altogether.
Okay.
So it was about this little demon number 1 who couldn't quite get his magic going. But then halfway through it, I realized this is a book about fairies. You know, it is an Artemis book, so just accept it.
Merged it.
Well, once I made that decision, you just know it's right. You just obviously, this is the right thing to do. So, but nothing is ever wasted. Even if you write a lot of stuff and it doesn't end up in anything, you still learn from writing it how to sharpen up the writing a little bit. So I'm never kind of angry if I do 10,000 words and then can't use it, because I know that I've progressed a little bit writing those 10,000 words.
And the last sort of big bit of news at the moment going on is that Highfire, your new sort of fantasy novel for adults, due out January, which is about a flash dance loving, vodka drinking dragon.
Yeah.
Where on earth did that fantastic idea come from?
I don't know. I mean, it didn't come all in one go. I wanted to have a dragon book. I've always really liked dragon stories, and this is actually the 3rd attempt, speaking about stuff that hadn't been used. And I knew that I didn't want the dragon to be a noble creature or, you know, avaricious, jealously guarding his gold. That these things had been really done before and done brilliantly. Yeah. And I didn't want to get back do that kind of thing. And I wanted a different take on it, much like Patrick Ness has done now with Burn, which is coming up, where the dragons are kind of farm labourers. Yeah. They're hired out as like human or animal combine harvesters. And I think that's a great idea. It's a new approach. Yeah. It's a new way into dragons. And so my dragon is, he's kind of like a redneck dragon. He's living in the swamps in Louisiana, and he is hanging around with the alligators. And during the day he's in the bayou with the alligators, and then at night he has a little shack which he has set up with some He's got a fridge for his vodka, and he's got a nice cable TV set, and he watches all these shows like the Real Housewives, and and he gets martinis made up for him. So I just thought this is such a different kind of dragon. People might be interested to read about him, and luckily so far, the reception has been fantastic, and so I'm really looking forward to that coming out. It's quite close.
Yeah, a couple of months away.
Yeah, so it's going to be a busy couple of months, but.
And it's already been picked up by MGM for a potential TV series.
MGM picked it up from the manuscript. So.
Oh wow.
So that's great. I think it has that kind of one-line summary you can do. The world's last dragon is living in the Louisiana swamps, and he gets involved with the local crime lord, and it's kind of you'll read that. We read that, and even if it's not great, we can probably fix it. So they read it and they loved it, and they were doing the show Vikings in Ireland. So they just said, "Do you want to come down and meet us?" So I went down and with my son, and I had a chat with them. I really liked what they had in mind. So it was great. It was really quickly, and it's very exciting. Very exciting. So hopefully it will go. It takes a long time for these things to happen, but
hopefully not 19 years.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, not the same length of time. But I'm really delighted about that. And it'd be nice to have something on one of the big networks in the States.
Yeah.
It'd be great. Yeah.
Your Game of Thrones.
It would be, and I mean, it's kind of, there's definitely things in common with the dragon. It is set in the present day, but the book cover, I wanted it to be reminiscent of Game of Thrones until you picked it up and thought, oh, wait a second, that dragon has a martini. That's not, someone is subverting Game of Thrones, which is, I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan, the books, so I would be very thrilled with that.
Fantastic. You're going off on a completely different tangent now.
Yeah.
So you're a known sort of environmentalist. It comes through very well in obviously the Artemis Fowl books.
Yeah.
How does, your sort of environmental outlook on life kind of bleed into things outside of your writing?
Well, I think I don't want to be beating people over the head with environmental messages, so I just kind of thread them in there. And I mean, the one. Illegal was the graphic novel we did, and we're working on a new one, and that's like a major environmental story. And what we have to do is to make it entertaining, because if you're not entertained, you won't keep reading. So it's tough to do an entertaining story about an environmental disaster. But luckily, Andrew and I are old hands, and between the two of us, we have like 50 years writing or 60 years writing. So I think we're due. We did it with Illegal, where it was a terrible tragedy, but also it was gripping.
Yeah.
So, and we're trying to do that with the new one we have, which we haven't titled completely yet. But I like to put in something in almost every book where there is a little mention of an environmental issue that kids maybe could talk about, or maybe can do something, a little thing about. And one of the books I remember I did a little bit about the nuclear submarines that are just lying around in the Bay of Kola up near Murmansk, and it's just all these things happening that just seem incredible, like that.
How is this going on in the world?
Yeah, and I remember people were saying to me, "Oh yeah, but that's just Artemis Fowl. It's not actually happening." And you're saying, "No, these are real things." So sometimes when the real disasters are so much more insane than what's actually happening in the books, that they can't be true.
Yeah, so farcical that it couldn't possibly be reality.
Yeah, they couldn't be real. So I'm trying to, at reading, say, now, when I have this in, that actually happened.
Wow.
But it's terrible what's going on in the world. Really bad.
But we're not here for that. We're here for the laughs. We're here for Artemis.
That's why
the Fowl
I'm
Twins.
Yeah.
You are the laughs in the world.
I bring the funny. That's my job, and that's why I love doing events so much, because you can feel the warmth in the room, and you can give people who maybe thought they were just going to have to sit there with their with their kids, and they didn't think they were going to have a good time, because often as parents you've got to bring kids to this stuff, and you want to bring them, and you're happy to bring them, but you also know that it's not going to be for you. You're going to just sit there, and you'll enjoy your child enjoying it.
Yeah.
So it's great if I can entertain that parent. And that's what I try to do, you know, as well. So I love parents who come out who say, I didn't know I was going to enjoy myself. So thanks, you know, that's great. I love it when that happens.
And before we wrap things up, I've got one last really pressing question for you.
Yeah.
What's your go-to sandwich when you don't know what to eat?
Well, I do make a nice sandwich myself. We have one of those old Breville sandwich toasters, and don't judge me now, but I like to kind of make a self-contained beans in toast.
Okay.
Beans in toast.
In toast.
Yeah.
Do you squish the?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Well, I pour. It's actually not easy. You can't use that many beans.
Okay.
But you kind of make a mound in the circular mound in the bottom bread, and then you like close it very carefully, and the top bread comes
toast
down, and it will. It's really nice. I mean, it tastes exactly as you would expect it. It is beans on toast.
I think thousands of people across the world are going to be giving.
Hopefully, they won't get first-degree burns from
We'll have to get a hashtag going.
Yeah, tomato sauce. But sorry about that. But yeah, beans in toast.
Beans in toast.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. And any other messages for fans around the world before we wrap on up?
Well, I meet so many people who've read Artemis Fowl themselves as 12-year-olds, and now they're parents, and they're introducing their own kids to it. And it's just, they're incredibly loyal and supportive, and don't think for a minute that I take that for granted ever. No writer does. We all know that we're only as popular as our fans. So I'd just like to say heartfelt. I won't slap my chest because we have a microphone.
We do. You know, I've done it once or twice, I think. So,
but a heartfelt,
sorry, guys.
I'll just slap my shoulder, which is not quite as good. Heartfelt thank you to everybody down the generations who have stuck with Artemis and are now coming back from the twins. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this interview. It's been a new one for me. Been hearts racing a little bit, but I think we're done. Thank you very much, guys.
Yes.
Peace. How was that?
Awesome.
Yeah?
I want to know more about the beans now.